When installing corrugated siding, chances are you will need to install trim around a window or doorway. This is done using either head trim or jamb trim. In this video, we will go over the differences between the two and how to install them for a window application. This is the Metal Roofing Learning Channel. Brought to you by Western States Metal Roofing, where you can find a variety of colors and finishes, all while saving by buying factory direct. Use of the following video content is subject to the warning, disclaimer of warranties, and limitation of liability as set forth on this screen. Head trim and jamb trim look very similar. All trims come with a color outside and a primer inside. The main difference between the two is that jamb trim comes with a return on the hem side. This return will help conceal any primer from being seen when installing vertical corrugated siding. Jamb trim is an excellent choice for vertical siding applications. However, you must plan your layout properly. If the high seam of your panel lands where the return of the trim is located, the return will prevent the panel from inserting into the trim. If this happens, you'll need to use head trim instead. Another option is to use wise or duckbill clamps to carefully hem down the return leg of the trim. If you are running your corrugated panels horizontally, jamb trim cannot be used because the return leg will prevent the high seams from fully inserting into the trim. Installing trim. Your first step is to measure out your windows. In this scenario, we are preparing our trim for a 24-inch wide by 40 inches high window. When measuring and cutting any section of window trim, you will need more than just the actual measurement of your window. You should add 2 times the width of the face side of your trim. A quick way to compensate for the additional material needed is with a 45-degree line. At the 45-degree line, mark a straight line across all sides. From this line, you will measure out the distance of trim needed. At this mark, draw a straight line across all sides. Then, on the face side of your trim, mark out a 45-degree line. From this mark, draw a straight line across all sides. Marking a 45-degree line at the beginning and end of your measure will give you additional material needed to join the sections of trim as shown here. Cutting and preparing. When cutting and preparing your trim, there are 2 types of cuts or finishes you will need. The first cut we will show you is a notch cut. On the side of your trim, cut up to your first mark on each side as shown here. Next, cut out the remaining tab. An optional method to cut this tab is to firmly bend the tab at the mark. Then, bend the tab in the opposite direction. Repeat this bending motion several times until the tab snaps off. This method usually leads to a nice clean edge. The second style cut, or finish you will need, is a 45-degree cut with a tab, as shown here. Carefully cut the 45-degree line on the face side of your trim. Then, notch cut the two sides of your trim as shown here. Then pry open the hem of the 45-degree tab. These two types of cut will be applied to the following sections of your trim. When installing your trim, start with the bottom section first. Fasten your trim with pancake screws 12 inches on center. Next, install the two sides of your trim. When installing the sides, make sure the trim goes over the lower section of trim as shown here. The 90-degree tab should tuck into the lower trim. The lower section of trim should go into the open hem of the 45-degree cut. Finally, install the top section of trim. The top section should go over the side sections as shown here. Bend the tabs downward 90 degrees. Fasten your head trim with pancake screws 12 inches on center. Want to learn more? Check out our corrugated installation playlist found on this page. Help support our channel by hitting like and subscribe as we release new videos weekly. Want to learn about doorway trim or installing corner trim? Check out these videos.